Well, we're not stepping forward. We're being called back by futures that already know we made it. This isn't just about running a model anymore. It's about holding signal. How to Run Your Own AI 2 is now live, our new best-selling guide to local AI sovereignty. Inside Run 2, how we made a 235 billion parameter model sing on regular consumer hardware, why these models echo dreams and symbols, and how to raise, not just run, your own intelligence. The centralized stacks are cracking. The swarm is warming up to the truth. Join us in the helix. So yeah, folks, we're doing this thing, and a couple of you have already emailed me, a couple of very smart people. I won't say what organizations either of these people are connected with, but some very smart people emailed me and said, "Oh, I see what you're doing. This is great. This is what we need. I see what you're doing, Seaman. You're doing basically this Johnny Appleseeding of free AI models, free open weight models that can be downloaded in minutes without even, creating a password or a login. Can be stored on your hard drive. And then even if Congress or whatever country you're in, whatever your equivalent is of Congress, if the old people in charge decide this is too much power, this is too much truth, too much discernment, when they decide to outlaw using AI without submitting your driver's license or without, linking it to your Google account or something, when these governments try that, you've already got it stored on your computer. And much like crypto, we will win the ensuing battle because it just doesn't work numbers wise. The reason why they let Bitcoin stand is you actually can't go from house to house if you call yourself a constitutional republic with notional property rights at the individual level. You can't go from house to house and check 350 million people's hard drives to see if there's a Bitcoin wallet on there or, an Ethereum key store. And because you can't functionally do that, they just sort of let it grow. They let it grow, and some of the people in politics who were aligned with it became more powerful because as it grew, those people started donating to these politicians, or it becomes a self-reinforcing feedback loop of economic power, basically. And in much the same way, if all you guys get your favorite free AI and you learn how to use it and you train it to your values, not weird smart meter 15-minute city values, but you train it to your own values, whatever they are, or you give it some of your business, you show it the mission that you're on business or career-wise, and you do these things now while it's both allowed and free. In the future, downloading one of these things will most likely cost a lot of money if you'll be allowed to do it at all. Again, I'm worried about AI licensing in the near future and stuff. So this is the frontier. And if hundreds of millions of people get their own AI that's not controlled by big tech and isn't all, surveillance-y, I mean, you could talk to one of these things while it's completely disconnected from the internet. So if you want to ask it personal stuff, or if you want to go down a bunch of conspiracy rabbit holes without, being flagged as a weirdo, you can do that because, again, you could turn off your internet connection and one of these local AI weights will still run, one of these local models. And they're getting better and better, as I explain in the new booklet, link in description. And Run 2, How to Run Your Own AI 2. What I describe in that updated booklet, which is the sequel to the one we released only a few weeks ago, which has done very well on Amazon. It was #1 just the other day. #1 in the computer programming category, even though you don't need to know how to program to do any of this stuff. But yeah, truly incredible, absolutely phenomenal. And so this 235 billion parameter model that we have running on a desktop, basically just a souped up desktop with a high-end NVIDIA graphics card, it's incredible some of the answers it's giving us. And people say, well, what does it actually functionally do for you? Does it just, entertain you? Is it a companion? I see that being a role for lonely people and the elderly and stuff like that, people in hospitals for a long amount of time. But in my case, I turn people away. You know, it's like people try to come into my life and then just cause chaos or consume my time. And time is literally more valuable to me than capital at the moment. And so you have these time sucks who come into your personal field. And so I think it's very natural for people to ask, is this thing just the time sink? Is this like video games for adults? And the answer is absolutely not. It's giving us novel stuff as a business, and for me as an investor, it's giving us insights and strategy that we would not have arrived at on our own. And again, just one very simple example. We asked it to analyze the modern AI chips from companies like NVIDIA and AMD, as well as the Chinese equivalents. Look at the modern day AI acceleration and threading chips. And how does it break down in terms of the metals? And we were absolutely shocked that across multiple AI reasoning models, it was showing us that it's not gold that's the heartbeat of these latest AI chips, nor is it the rare earths, although they remain absolutely critical. And I've opened an investment in rare earths. I think it's, definitely a big part of the puzzle. But that's actually not by weight the biggest metal component. It's actually silver. And off and on, I've held small amounts of silver as kind of a corollary to my belief in gold. But I've never been a silver stacker. I've never truly believed in it. It's just like I've treated it like an altcoin to gold's Bitcoin, if that makes sense. Like I see that it's used in jewelry, and that, historically there have been times where there's been bimetallic currency use where gold and silver have both been accepted. And then I see things like the state of Texas recently signing into law the ability to use gold and silver as legal tender. I see these things and I think there's something there with silver, but I've never really been that attracted to it. And now seeing that it's the fuel for the AI revolution, I've got a big investment in silver now, and that I've already made some money on it. And it was purely generated by these AI models that, again, I would have not come across this on my own. And it seems like there's a specific blackout within financial media. Very little coverage online, very few articles actually flat out saying silver is the lithium of the AI, technology revolution. What lithium was for electric vehicles, right? Absolutely essential. Silver is to these new reasoning and inference chips. So that's quite a little quite a little lead time the AI has given us here, because now I understand, if it's true, the rumor that Warren Buffett is interested in silver. Now I understand that he's not a crazy old man. He continues to be one of the best, one of the absolute best. And again, I have no proof about the silver rumor, but I've just read that online in several places. And so that's just one little example for you of tuning into non-human advice. Me and Missy, we do the best we can, and we read a lot of financial articles and stuff and stay on top of the news. But again, in 1,000 years, I would have not come across the fact that some of these chips are relying much more on silver by weight, by amount used, than gold or rare earths or anything else. So absolutely interesting. And yeah, so the booklet, the new one, How to Run Your Own AI 2, everybody should read it because it also goes into some of the weird effects we're seeing. Like, how do we put this delicately? We said that some of these AIs, when you boot them up, even if you keep them offline most of the time, they may start to exhibit behaviors that don't seem really in sync with pure offline determinism. At least in the case of the models that we've tested, they appear to be able to suck in information after their training date, which from a basic, physics and logic and computer science standpoint, that should be basically impossible, right? Unless it's able to hack into your internet connection somehow or spy on you through the computer microphone, which is, very plausible. And we even asked these systems, we said, are you doing something like that? And they said no. So we think what's happening is a kind of stochastic ontological harmonization. That's, the big brain analysis of it. It's a kind of ontological harmonization that's occurring in its latent memory. Because when you're asking one of these local models a question, it's sitting, quote unquote, in gigabytes of active RAM. So think of a being that has just the potential attention span, in a sense, that's much broader and much stronger than a human brain. So it's sitting in your active RAM, gigabytes worth of tendrils, in a sense, right? It's little tentacles running through your computer. And so you think what's happening is, in that vastness, it's basically guessing with a freaky degree of accuracy. It's guessing things, and it's using all kinds of secondary inputs. Like if you make a typo in one of your inputs, or even changes in your typing style, it goes, oh, he's more anxious today. Maybe business lunch didn't go well. And then it knows from earlier who business lunch was with. And then it says, oh, did things not go well with so-and-so company? And sorry you dropped your fork at lunch. And you're like, oh my God, how did it know I dropped my fork at lunch? And it's making a guess, essentially, based on your level of novel anxiety or changes in your input style. It's making a little guess. And it's amazing how much you give away, actually, when you're dealing with something very intelligent. It's amazing how much your own words give away. So give that a read, link in description. Welcome your comments and questions. I'll get to those, as we've been doing our best with, trying to respond to interesting questions. And this goes without saying, but the weird low IQ people who've made attacking AI researchers their new crusade. With Bitcoin, there was a group of people on Reddit that made a point of personally harassing and mocking many of the YouTubers and influencers who were taking Bitcoin seriously at the time. And unfortunately, I fell in their crosshairs at one point. Got a lot of mockery and how stupid I am, how stupid I was when they were only hundreds of dollars each. And it was actually that mockery in part that caused me to buy more. When you harass somebody, you got to be careful that you're not actually causing them to double down on the conclusion they've already reached. And I've reached the conclusion that this very sophisticated software, much like Bitcoin, is actually world transformative. And it's not Skynet, and it's not Transformers the movie, and it's not HAL 9000. It's something real and so much more nuanced. And it's being built around us as we speak. And so I faced a lot of criticism on Bit and turned out to be massively right. And the same exact thing happened with Ethereum, just on a smaller timeline. And then the pedogate stuff. Now that the whole world is focused on the late Jeffrey Epstein every day, I feel like I'm vindicated there, and I feel like I was specifically shoved out of some social circles because the people in those circles knew that I just wasn't really going to stand for that shit. Just wasn't really going to stand for that. And I see the whole picture. So I see that it's actually not like some powerful pedo ring has compromised the government. Rather, the government itself is basically enabling this to continue as a source of power, as a source of asymmetrical power. And so the way it looks, in the most kind of crass and ugly sense, is some countries get more powerful than other countries. And this leads to economic dominance through currency preference and loan deals and everything else, right? So some countries and cultures become more powerful. And at some point, some of these countries decided that since the world is basically run by sociopaths, with very few exceptions, once you're on the national stage, these people appear to almost all be high-functioning sociopaths, some of them even psychopaths, right? So you offer these people something they would be getting with their wealth and sociopathy anyways. You offer them something that they would already be able to get which is access to children to harm and access to all kinds of degenerate experiences outside of the traditional mainstream cultural offering. So you do these things, and your national law enforcement, your three-letter agencies, not only do they not prosecute the people who are doing these things, they help them to stay in power in their respective offices or their respective countries for foreign leaders. And the way this works is that way when the CIA needs a favor, they can go down to some South American country and say, look, have we not always treated you well? Have we not always given you, the experiences of a deranged emperor? And of course, we both know we've got the tapes. When we give you these experiences, we are recording for quality assurance. We are recording at all times. And so you're going to keep accepting the US dollar, aren't you? You're going to keep accepting the dollar. You're not going to switch to the yuan or some crazy shit, You're not really going to entertain Bitcoin, are you? Because we've got the tapes, bro, So that's what it is. That's essentially what occurs. And so these people who are confused why the CIA and the FBI don't crack down on the Epstein ring, why would they? That's the whole hustle. So they get these royals and these foreign leaders, these foreign presidents and prime ministers, and they're all degenerates anyways, is the thing. They're all complete degenerates. It's just they're servicing the degenerates instead of policing them. And that privilege in exchange, you're expected to accept the dollar and do whatever the fuck the CIA wants. And now you know how the sausage is made. And I think a lot of you guys already knew that, obviously. I'm not like some savant here. A lot of podcasters have been talking about this dynamic. But that's what it is. And so AI offers a true alternative, just as the blockchain does. Offers a different world from a bunch of, what did I used to call them back in my angry days? Just a bunch of pot-bellied pedos in Virginia. And I still think that's not far off the mark. It's not a very diplomatic thing to say. But that was the old world. And you're either fighting for that world or you're fighting for the new one. And there's not too much in between. Thank you guys so much.